Hi everyone, Jasmine here from LVL UP Consulting with this week's episode of the People First Projects podcast, or Vodcast if you're viewing us. I have Rochelle from the team here with me today, and Rochelle is one of our amazing project coordinators here at LVL UP, and I specifically want to talk today, Rochelle, about how do project managers, or just project teams in general actually, set up the project coordinator role for success. The reason I want to talk about this is, as a PM, I actually find it really challenging not to have a coordinator. I love coordinators, so super helpful.
That's good.
And it's really efficient for a project team to have that balance of the coordinator who can do the support role and then the PM to do the meetings and the thinking. But it can be really hard when you're a very busy project manager to delegate effectively or to give clear instructions. So I've been there, I've come out the other side, and it's part of the coaching that I do with my own project managers. But I would love to hear from your perspective.
Yep.
So you've been in the chair for a little while now, you've worked with quite a few project managers. In your experience, obviously this is just your opinion, but as a coordinator, who I say is one of the most, if not the most important role in a project team, what for you sets you up for success?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's really interesting. I think one of the things is obviously really clear communication and really clear, defined definitions of what success looks like, but also understanding how your PM and yourself work. So if you have someone who really appreciates lists, then converting that to someone who might not appreciate lists, I think that is a really important key step to understand that people may not work the same as you or might not think the same, and to be able to really help them succeed is to understand how they, as a project coordinator, interprets information. So if they are better with verbal instructions or better with written down instructions, I think that's something that really helps in the long run. And really helps get the ball rolling, because then you can get into a rhythm and it can run on autopilot for the most part. But yeah, it really just comes back to being able to communicate efficiently and be able to, really get what is required across and what both parties understand as success or a finished product.
I like that. And something I always talk about is, and I do genuinely mean it when I say the project coordinator is one of, if not the most important role in a project. We're quite fortunate here at LVL UP. Sometimes we work as a team of 3 or 4, where you've got a project lead, a PM, and a coordinator. And I always say to the coordinators, yourself included, Rochelle, that you need to have that 100-foot view of the project. Because PMs traditionally, and apologies if I'm offending any PMs out there, get really busy in the doing work, really busy on meetings, that they aren't having that 100-foot view of things. So where I've seen the difference between a good coordinator and a great one is a great coordinator will take that backward step, have a look at the schedule, have a look at the backlog, set it up for success, and be super proactive. So it's sort of a two-way street in that relationship between a PM and a coordinator, in that the PM has to give tasks and be super clear on what the definition of done looks like and when is it due by and all those very finite details. But also it is an equal partnership where the coordinator says, love the task, however, have you noticed that in the schedule that's not due till 3 weeks time and we've got something pressing. So it's it can feel quite hierarchical in the role, but it doesn't have to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really valid, that even though your PM will give you stuff and it's like, this is 100% a high priority, we need to get it done, and it's like, oh, actually, do you know that it has to go out by next week, or in 2 days time, and we haven't finished it? And then it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Let's do that first. And I think 100%, as a project coordinator, you really need to be on top of things. And I know it's something that I have done, and I need to do a little bit more, but just putting in calendar reminders for your PM to be like, hey, this is a designated time that you can even just think about this task that is coming up in the next week, or hey, don't forget to email this person about this thing. Yeah,
absolutely. As I say, two-way street, setting each other up for success, and communication. And of course, this being the People First Project podcast, and I think I say this every episode because it's true, and this is the difference between an ordinary project and a hero project, but people at the centre. Treat your coordinator and, in the inverse, treat your project manager like a human being, because they are. Even me as leader, I'll treat the sponsor as a human being because they are. So talk to people in the way you would want to be talked to. Obviously adapt, as you say, that's a really, really good tip. But at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that is for the project to be successful and all of our stakeholders to be happy. So if we come at it as a team, as opposed to, I'm a coordinator, I have to sit back, or I'm a project manager and I've got to tell you what to do, no deal. It doesn't work as well that way.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
any final thoughts?
I think that's it. I think just, I think it really comes down to knowing how each other works and, understanding what the other one needs and, being willing to step up and be like, no, I actually need this, and push back where is appropriate, I think is something that is a skill that is important. Yeah.
Very hard
Yes.
for the coordinator, but the difference between good and great. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning into today's episode. We will see you next time on the People First Project podcast. See you later.